Do it, man.
You ready? Let's go.
Yeah, let's rip it.
Hey, welcome to the Round 6 podcast. I'm Brian.
I'm Brad.
I'm Alex.
I'm Doug.
Tim.
All right.
I made it even easier.
That was
This
easy.
is totally
you
made.
won't believe how difficult that is at times.
You
I
You
figured
just
it
nailed
out.
it. First shot. Nailed it.
Seasoned.
totally nailed it. This is like hot rodding history at one table, man.
Yes, sir.
Thank you guys for joining us.
Yeah.
Well, you're welcome. This is a pleasure. I was really looking forward to it.
Us
So,
too, man. Thanks
yeah.
for hanging out, man.
Right on.
It's been a big fan, and this is nice. We finally have an Arizona connection.
Yeah.
It's always been all these
Yep.
California people,
Yeah.
and now it's the Valley versus you guys, and you're outnumbered.
No,
so
never versus.
It's
I love
Yeah,
what
it
they
is
do.
outnumbered, isn't
I
it?
love what
That's
they
kind of
do.
a nice
Yeah,
change.
I love what they do in Arizona. They got the coolest hot rod community over there. It's
is a
tight.
great
It's a
hot rod.
tight bunch of guys, and it's like they all like each other.
Well, hot riders are that way.
Yeah, should be.
They're
That's what it
good.
should be.
Everywhere.
That's what
Yeah.
it should be.
So-
Yeah, but the Arizona guys, man, I like the way they do it. It's cool. They like to try
it's a
to
year-long
get
thing
together.
too. I mean, we got it.
Yeah.
It's a really cool community, and
Yeah.
it's you know,
It's a cult.
more
They
fun-
haven't told you the whole story.
Oh,
There's more.
yeah, you
way
want
more
like
to it.
initiation.
You won't like Wednesdays.
the first 6 months you're hanging out at the airport.
Do you guys
know,
remember
distributing
Tom
pamphlets.
Phipps? Jenny Shifter,
Right?
right? I used to work with him over here. We both taught together over at the Valley Vocational Center. Then I told him I'm moving to Arizona. He said, "You don't know anybody over there."
Yeah,
I said, "Tom, got a hot dog, buddy. We got hot rods. We don't need to know anybody." That's a true story. I mean, that's the way it works.
That's awesome.
So you really, speaking of cars, I mean, you drove out here. You drove to the
Yeah,
show.
I
It's not your
drove
first
my
time
coupe
doing
out.
it, but
No, No, I prefer it now. I think I'm going to start doing that. I know I have customers' cars coming out, and typically I would come out on Wednesday, stay and set up the car and stay with throughout the weekend, come back on Monday, which it does wear you out. It does kind of ruin the fun of it.
Aw.
But, well, yeah, I know. But the nice thing is I got such a great crew that I can rely on them to handle that. So now my nephew, Aaron, brought a 40 sedan delivery we finished out, and he came out on Wednesday and with the customer and sat with the car, and I decided that it would be a perfect time to drive the coupe out. So me and my lady drove out yesterday, or what's the day? Sunday? No, Friday. And man, what a great time! Love it. I mean, that was really the longest I've driven that car. And there's a long story behind it, but after the first 100 miles, I was pretty confident. Nothing
finally
happened,
relaxed.
So, I relaxed.
Okay.
And then it was
Everything's
an
gonna be
adventure.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm going to start doing that just about every year. So
very cool. We can start a caravan.
that's kind of what we were trying
That
to
would
do.
be
But you know
badass.
what happens when you travel with a whole group of hot rods?
Yeah.
That guy's generator bolt fell off. That guy's tire came apart. I mean, it's like stop and go.
That
It's
guy's
really
gas gauge
difficult,
didn't
but-
work, and he
The
ran
real
out of
problem
gas.
is if it's your car that breaks down.
Well,
That's
yeah,
the
you
worst
pray
part.
that it didn't. but- and then that's when the group around you is convenient.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they help you fix. So, but no, it's. I think we're just going to start doing it every year, and it'd be really neat to get a whole caravan.
Yeah.
And just make it a tradition thing. A whole group of hot rods come over. In fact, we took off with a group. We met in the west side of Phoenix, and we waited forever for them. But when they finally got there, we jumped on the freeway, and there's all these hot rods whizzing by. I'm like, oh, this is great. 2 miles, boom, they're back off. They're getting off because they had a problem. We just muscled on, but the next gas stop, we ended up with another group. So, I mean,
That's
everywhere
really cool.
from here to there, it was like just hot rods. You see them everywhere.
If you're
So
if you're an Arizona hot rodder, you know where Tom Wells Road is. That's the cheapest gas before you hit the border coming this way. I mean, the last cheap gas, I should say.
Right.
And I mean,
Everybody
whenever
stops
there's
there.
an event there, you can always count on seeing five or
We'll
six.
pull
hot
in, you'll
rods.
see hot rods there.
awesome.
So, and we did. So that
There's
worked
nothing
out
better
really
than cruising down the road and seeing a group, even if you don't have your own hot rod,
Yeah.
and you're cruising along in your regular car and seeing just a mass of hot rods. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah, but say you want to say, I got one of those honest. It's at home. I honest.
well. Just like it.
Oh, sure you do. Yeah.
I drove my Ford out, 49 Ford Coupe,
Right on.
354 Chrysler Hemi,
Oh,
700 R4.
Right on.
Kind of a wimp compared
no, man.
Tim's a big Hemi guy.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with
All
that.
right. Now we got a Hemi guy here.
Not really.
I just
Two
love it.
Hemi
A
guys.
No,
Ford
I'm
with
a
a
hot
Hemi
rodder.
and a Chevy
Well, he's a hot
transmission.
rodder.
I
I'm
love
not a
the
Hemi
whole
guy. I'm a
thing,
hot rodder.
man.
I've owned all kinds of.
I want to hear that story you told me, and some of his stories are just awesome because they're true hardcore hot rodding stuff from the 50s, 60s, and 70s. And Tim was a hot. Well, you said you got interested by wasting 25 cents on a hop up.
My dad just, what are you buying that stuff for? You know, I don't know, any custom magazine, Rod. I don't know if it was Rod and Custom or not, the first one, but I got hooked on that. You know, when Mom would go to the grocery store, I'd go to the rack and read them on one. My dad first saw the first one that I bought. What are you wasting that 25 cents on that for? That's probably 11 or 12.
Way past 25 cents.
It's probably 11 or 12, and that was back in the 50s. So, but that's when I got hooked.
Right.
The best story is when you're in the Navy and on the weekends. What would you do?
Actually, we bought this 49 Ford Coupe, a friend of mine and I, $100, 6-cylinder motor. So we got to put a Chevy in it. This is 1964, so probably $300 will probably do it. Maybe 63. I'm not. So we go to the junkyard. We got $300. The junkyard guy says, "I don't have a Chevy, but you might like this." And he took us out back. He's got a 331 Chrysler Hemi. He had just taken it out of a pickup truck. They got wrecked, a 50-some Ford pickup. So it had the bell housing, clutch, pressure, throw-out bearing, had the belts, the fan, the generator.
It was a complete deal.
And it was a 330, 55, 331, so it was a 6-volt still. So we pulled the engine out, the 6-cylinder out on Thursday, drove it to the muffler shop on Monday. God's truth. 2 weeks later, we drove it to Bremerton, Washington.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That's from San Diego. We pulled it into we pulled it into the auto shop, and the old guy, dungarees are white. You know, he's been in the Navy forever. They aren't even blue anymore. He says, "Man, that's the sweetest sound of flathead I ever heard."
Yeah. Wow. That must have been them big flatheads.
Best part of that story, at the end of the weekend, the junkyard he got the engine from, they wouldn't take back flatheads. Nobody wanted them.
It was a 6. It was actually a 6, but
well.
but I've done it with flathead
Yeah,
V8s
so
too.
they would go to the junkyard at night on Sunday night and kick the engine off the back of the truck.
Hey, they would not only not pay you for a flathead, they wouldn't take a flathead.
They didn't want it.
They didn't want them, you know. But hey, I got nothing against flatheads. Believe me, it's just at that point you wanted a overhead valve
Well, you
engine.
want more power.
Sure.
You know, you wanted an overhead. You know, you knew they'd run better. It'd be cheap horsepower, but and I'm not a Ford and a Chevy guy. I want somebody when they look in there to know that I did an engine swap.
Right.
You know, and these guys on TV that are Ford guys and Chevy guys, they drive me nuts. They do. I mean, it's none of their damn business. And I even hate that Ford gives a Ford trophy, a $6 trophy, so you'll change how you build your car. Let me build my car and decide how I want to do it.
Just don't open the hood. It's none of your business.
Yeah, I'm not going to build a car for you. Anyway, that's
Okay,
my
we
story.
got Duck, dude. We're at kind of your event. You won here.
I did, yeah.
You won that American.
We hear you
Speedo
built the
Roadster
car
here.
too, or at some point.
Well, my dad originally, it was my dad's build. Should I just tell that whole story?
Tell the story. It's a
Okay.
great story.
Well, my dad's good friend, Daryl, wanted a roadster, so they came over to Pomona, and it was late. I think it was like 78, 79 that they found all original 34. It was a mild hot rod. It had, you remember the car at all?
Absolutely. I loved it when they brought it back.
Yeah,
It was
it
black with
was
a white top, a roadster.
Black with a white top.
I
I believe it had a small block Chevy. It had a full. In fact, I still have the gauge panel. It was a stainless. From left door to right door, it was filled with all these Stuart Warner gauges, and they're all just vintage in perfect shape. It had more drop axle on it. It was a cool old hot rod, but back then, I mean, it wasn't all about building them period correct. Back in the late 70s, early 80s, you just modified it and made it your own. So they decided they're going to build a car. In fact, Daryl decided, I think I'm going to compete for that AMBR. So years went by. I mean, there's a ton of work into the car. A fellow metal guy that's, you know, he was an underdog. He hammered your coupe, Kenny Gartman.
Oh, Kenny, yeah.
Kenny Gartman is one of the best metal guys in the valley. In fact, the car, White Side coupe that Chip had done, Kenny had started that car, and the wedge section on it was done by Kenny.
So it's a chop.
And so was the chop. Kenny had chopped that car and wedge sectioned it. And that's a whole nother story. It got out of hand, and the owner ended up taking it and giving it to chip. But the way he done that channel or the sections, I mean, the guy was a genius. And he'd make, I mean, he had a bucket of bolts. That was his fasteners. I mean, he wouldn't go to the store and buy new ones. He made whatever he can find work. So he built this entire interstructure in this 34-3 window with a pivot. And he cut over the top of the wheel wells and along the bottom. And then he relied on his structure to drop that thing, put it in place, measure it, and start welding it together. And that was how it was wedge section. So it was brilliant, and it worked. Anyway, Kenny, they gave the Roadster to Kenny. And my dad would tell me stories. This was before. I moved to Arizona in '86, right after I graduated high school. I grew up in Ohio. Graduated 2 weeks later, I'm in Arizona working for my dad. So the car was being built at that time when I moved there. And the car was at Kenny's, and he's doing all this incredible. Of course, he wedge channeled it, you know, which is tough to do with a full fendered 34. Yeah. You know, you're dropping zero in the back and like an inch or 2 inches, whatever it was, at the cowl. I mean, you got all these fenders coming up, all this shit's happening.
Grill shell and hood
right.
sides.
You know, so Kenny did all that, and then I think there's a photo once, or somebody, my dad might have the photo, but Kenny would brag about these hidden door hinges he made on this car.
Ever tell you that story?
Yeah, my dad too told me the
I went
story.
over there, and he's got no skin on the door, but there's no wood in the car anymore. He replaced everything with steel. He's got the door out at 90 degrees, but there's no skin on it. He says, jump up here. I said, no, I'm not going to jump up there. So he does. He jumps up there, and rocks the whole car like this, and then click.
And click, shuts the door. So Kenny was he was an incredible craftsman, and kind of an underdog. Nobody really knew him, but we all knew him. In Arizona, everybody knew Kenny Gartman. Anyhow, he did that, and then the top of the cowl, I believe he's strict, or no, I think, you know what, Fink did that. Where the 34 has the cowl vent shaped hood.
Right.
Well, they straightened that line out to follow the windshield. Well, that was Fink. Fink did. There's a lot of people who worked on the car. Jeez. Dad took it over. Fink. One of his first inserts is in that car. Fink built that. Fink built the hood or the hinges. And if you look at them, they're very similar to the ones he sells, but not quite. You can tell he handmade these things. So Fink made those. It was probably one of his first. And he also straightened that line out on the cowl. And while I was over here, went over to Boyd's. Boyd's welded out the windshield posts and we welded those into place. And then, you guys, you're screwing up my story again. The Engle Brothers.
Oh, yeah. They stripped everything. Yeah,
There's always an Engle Brothers influence.
Just don't look at them. They'll go away.
Anyways, so Boyd had done some work on it. And then, of course, it was back to my dad. I remember my dad, the back part of the cockpit where the pinch weld would be for the roadster top. He'd built that full surround of the bead that matched the top of the door. And I remember him leading on it. That was at the hot rod connection, so I had to be 86 or so. He was doing lead work on that. You know, the hood panels were made by Fink, and then Chauvin Evans from Arizona was a well-known land speed guy, engineer. He'd built some of the aluminum shit on the car where the hood panels had some inserts, and my dad came up with this idea of the tail pan. The whole rear of the tail pan was like a tail light, and then he had the aluminum blades in it, kind of like that Testarossa thing, you know, which was cool back in the 80s, 90s. And he made sequential lights, you know, like the Cougars. And the dash, it had the same thing. It had like a Marfab dash with that aluminum bladed insert. And then the credit card ignition. I don't know if you guys remember that. Nightmare. Wow. But he had that. And so they get the car. I mean, they worked on it. They had a small block Chevy with a Ingles on it. And I remember Dad working on it. Everything was lacquer on the car. In fact, at one point they decided to paint it white. And they pulled the chassis into booth, and they said, we're going to paint it white. We're going to paint all the components of charcoal. So they literally painted that frame charcoal. And by the time a week went by, they changed their mind to maroon. So chassis went back in, they sanded it. It was all lacquer. Yeah. You know. Yeah. And so lacquered it up. Of course, I'm the guy hand rubbing the shit. Of course. Because that was my job, just rubbing. Anyways, and the body work was just flawless. You know, the lines were all crisp. The latches they used are out of some weird foreign car, and they shut really nice. And then, so the paint work's done, the engine, they get it fired, and of course it's English, and it washes down the cylinders, so they got to pull the engine back out, re-ring it, do all this shit, put it back in, get it running. It's got an early Kugel suspension under it, so it's the early Kugel front end, and then it's the rear early Kugel Jaguar base, modified by Kugel on the rear. They get all that done, then it goes to upholstery. Do you remember Dan Drum?
I know the name.
Yeah, well, he was one of the...
He's a big guy back then.
He was. Back in the 80s, 90s, he was the guy to go to for upholstery. I mean, his stuff was perfect, and, you know, and Daryl was throwing a lot of money at this car. So we get the car back from upholstery, and people just cannot believe how much the upholstery was. $6,000, and people are going nuts. How can an upholstery job cost $6,000?
Imagine that today.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
What do you get for a $6,000 interior
Wrap the
today?
wheel.
Floor mats?
Maybe a seat.
We can wrap the
You
wheel.
get the skins.
Hey, can I squeeze a Kenny
Yo, you
thing
got
in here?
to,
Just
yeah.
Kenny chopped my 3-window just before 34 3-window, and he says, "Bring it over, and I'll work on it 3 hours a night. You can pay me every Friday." Okay, no problem.
fair.
He says, "Probably take 3 months." No problem. I said, I got a different chassis to put it on. I'll be working on my chassis, and I get it over there, and he says, "Well, you want it like Pete's, or do you want it laid or straight like Jake's, or laid back a little bit like Pete's?" I said, "I think I like straight." Listen. 24 hours later, I go back. The car's chopped and tacked back together, and the windshield slanted. 24 hours. I said, "Hey, I thought we were going to leave the post straight up. Now I like it better like this."
And that's how Kenny was.
And then when he's fitting the doors, he's got the top hinge. I left all 3 hinges on it. He cut it up above and down and around. It's a real craftsman. He's got my upper hinge and a vise, and he's hitting it with a huge hammer. I said, "Kenny, don't break that." He handed me the hammer, went into his office, and never came back out. I just went home.
He was temperamental, wasn't he?
Anyway, that's me, by the way, if anybody's...
I remember Kenny was working on my dad's 41, and he would come over to the shop. He was
That's
doing a
my
lot of sheet
34.
metal work on it.
Right on.
And if boy, we were really, we'd be working, and if a customer walked in or a shop groupie would walk in, hey, don't go over there and bother him. You don't want to bother Kenny. He's going to get pissed off. So we'd always try to keep people away from Kenny because he just didn't want to be bothered. He wanted to do his job.
Right.
You know, I'm here for your dad. I'm working. Nobody bothers me. He's kind of, we always thought he was spacey a little bit. Might have been all the hammer and
Just a
dolling
little
on him.
off center.
Yeah.
Lacquer
He
thinner or
was,
something,
yeah,
I'm
but
not
boy, he had a good eye for chops and just everything. So, and there's a few times that people would get around us and go over, and man, you'd see him blow up and throw the hammer and walk out, and then my dad would have to go and calm him down, get him to
That's
come
the
back
chop
to
on
work.
mine.
So anyhow, back to the 34. So we get it back, and then at that point, Daryl decided, I'm just not. In fact, I think it might have been when Daryl started. I don't know if he needed financial problems, something. It might have been a divorce. I can't remember. But he decided, well, he took it to a few shows, and he decided that he just wanted to sell it. So they advertised it. They sold it to a gentleman out of Florida. And my dad and Daryl drove the truck and trailer with the roadster in it out to Florida and made the deal on the truck, or the roadster, everything, and they flew home. So that was the end of that car. So now this is where I come in. So anyways, you know, every now and then you hear about where it is or who has it. And I got a good friend who's also my best customer, Todd. And Todd's like, hey, you know, I think I need a roaster. I said, yeah, maybe a 34. I said, yeah. I said, I know just the car, because Daryl was a big guy, and the car was built for a larger guy to sit down in it. Yeah. And Todd's a big guy. I'm like, man, I know just the car. And I think I know who has it. So I tracked it down. I called the guy, and I'm sitting in the shop, and it was after work. And I get off the phone with the guy, and I believe it was in Texas. And we struck a deal. He's like, yeah, I want X amount of money. And it was low. I mean, for the car, it was cheap. I'm like, cool. So get off the phone. I'm sitting there doing some things. And Daryl walks in, the original owner. I hadn't seen him in a while. Hey, what are you doing? Oh, I said, that's so ironic you come in. I said, I just got a phone with the guy who has your old roaster. Really, where is it? I said, it's in Texas. Huh, what were you talking to him for? I said, well, I got a good customer who needs a roaster, and that one's for sale. And I think I got it sold to Todd. How much does he want for it? And I told him, call him back up, tell him I'll buy it. I'm like, really? He's like, Texas is one thing, but I'll be damned if somebody's driving my roaster around in my hometown. So, so he bought the car back. The car back shows back up. The engine's wore out. So, and
The
it's
wheels
got,
were going, weren't they?
Yeah, it had Mahilic wheels on it, original
Yeah.
Tendride knockoff,
Really
beautiful
rare.
wheels.
Yeah.
That was what my dad put on it, and it had some donks on it, some
I remember.
17 and 20. I mean, it was
Saw
awful.
blades
It
or
was just awful. And he's like, get rid of them wheels. So we tracked down the original wheels. Another guy in Texas had them, and Daryl bought those back. So we get it on its original wheels. We put a crate engine in it just so he could drive it. So he drove it around for about a year. And after a year, he says, I kind of want to redo the car. Let's make some changes. So I'm like, okay. And at that time,
Little changes.
I'm not going to say no. I know my dad built the car, and I don't want to really. So, and there's a few things I'm not real happy about it. Dated, like the tail lights and the blades and all this. Yeah, that shit. All the video gauges, kind of
Video
dated.
gauges.
I'm like, maybe it's time to change that stuff. So, my dad finds out I'm redoing the car, and he calls me. Hey, what are you going to do? I said, well, we're going to change the taillights. And he starts arguing with me about, Daryl really liked that taillight. I don't know how you're trying to talk him out of it. I can't remember what he said. I'm like, well, I'm going to change them. And I think he's kind of grumpy. And I get it. I mean, I can't imagine my kid grabbing one of my creations and making changes.
Right.
I'm sure I'd probably be a little bit, can you imagine? So, anyhow, I told Daryl, and I hope my dad doesn't see this. I told Daryl, and Daryl said, well, take that rear panel off and ship it to him. I was like, I'm not going to do that. So, anyhow, we did all these changes, and we D90s it, I guess, or D80s it, and put the Ford, all aluminum 427 Ford with a Hillborn injection, and just rebuilt the car, basically. The stance is all the same. The modifications my dad made on that Kenny had done, but my dad's idea for the channel and the windshield posts, so they were square. We rounded them and changed the dash. Made all the changes, updated the car, and it came out bitching. I liked it. It was wonderful. And Daryl's not a big driver of his hot rod, so he has a hanger. So we get the car done. We finished it in 08, and the car went into his hangar, and there it sat. Every now and then he'd fire it, running around the air park, and that's it. So 2011 comes. Now I first showed a roadster here in 08, and that was that cream and red 32 I had.
Love that car.
Thanks.
I remember you were working on that car. That was the old shop, too.
Yeah,
That's
it was the old shop. So I showed that, and that was incredible. I was like hooked. And so I decided, man, I got to bring something every year to the show, which to me is hands down best show in the world. As far as I know, I haven't been anywhere outside the country to a show, but I can't imagine.
Oh, we got to get you over to Lithuania.
They probably got to really go in there. So anyhow, in 2011, I was bringing something every year. In 2011, in 2010, we brought an orange Hemi-powered roadster. And the big controversy, all the crap that happened in 2010 with the show car stuff. And that's when 2011, they decided to go to the new rules.
Changed over.
So. Right. So
Swoopy was out.
Yeah. I think ISCA was kind of out. So I didn't have anything to bring for the show. And I called Daryl. I'm like, hey, do you mind if I bring the black roadster? It's a good promotional tool. Yeah, I don't care. So I sent pictures to Buck, and Buck's like, yeah, we'll put it as a contender. I'm like, that's cool. We're a contender. And that's awesome to be just a contender. So we send the photos, and he okays it, and we get our package. We use an old display from the year before, because we're like, we're just going to go there, show the car, and just drink beer and then go home. I mean, that's all it is. So we show up, and 11 is all different. Here's Shaporis and Kugel and all these guys lined up, all my heroes, all the guys that
People with a clue.
Yeah, people with a clue. They're all lined up. I'm like, what are these guys doing here? I mean, I wasn't in tune to what was going on. Oh, all these guys. Oh shit, there's that. All these guys I read about. And I go to Shaporis. I'm like, yeah, I'm Doug Squeegers. I got the black car. Oh, go ahead and unload it. So me and Sam was with me. We have the trailer inside. I open the door and I reach in and I fire that thing. And when that thing runs, that all aluminum 427.
They still talked about that car.
Holy shit, that thing.
They said that thing.
People started. I mean, it was like a crowd. And I went to back up, and Sam went, "Hey, on," and he had to like kind of people out of the way, and we backed this car off. And Pete walks up. He's like, "Why don't you go ahead and drive it right around here and park over there?" I'm like, "Okay." So I did. I parked it, or drove it around. I parked, and got out of the car. And here comes all these guys that I know. All the, Alloway I think was there, and I mean all these guys you look up to. I'm like, what in the hell is going on? Here's all these. Wow. They really dig this car. So I'm like, cool. So I get out and they're like, well, tell us about the car. So I told them the story about my dad did this and here's what I did. And I might even mention the story about the tail pan and they thought that was funny.
First question they had was, where's the credit card ignition?
We really want to see that. Does it still work?
Deduct.
The debit card ignition.
Now it's an Apple Pay ignition. So, I get out of the car and I shut the door. And I can't remember, it might have been Pete or Alloway. Somebody said, hey, open that door, shut it again. And you know how to shut. It's Kenny. Click. I mean, it's just beautiful. Like that? Yeah. Okay, and they're making notes.
So here, jump up on it.
Yeah, right. Jump up on that door.
That would have cinched it.
That would have. So, I show him the car. I tell him everything we did, all the changes we made, this and that. And he says, okay, we're all done here. He says, you can show the car however you want. I'm like, cool. So that means we don't have to jack it up, pull wheels, all this shit. So we take the car over. We take one hood panel off. We leave the top of the hood shut because on one side, you can see the profile of the car. And you guys know cars that are all closed up look awesome.
They look better.
Cars with everything, it looks like a hand grenade went off in them. Everything's open up. So I'm like, cool, we get to show it on the ground, how it should set. Took one head I'm like, oh, let's pull the headlights because my dad came up with these quick release headlights because the car looked so cool without headlights. Later, I got hell from that on the internet. Car doesn't even have headlights. I'm like, oh, it's got headlights. We just took them off. But anyway, so we showed it.
Somebody in his mother's basement didn't like
Yeah,
it.
right, exactly. You're right.
That's the truth.
So the rest of the weekend, it's time to drink beer. So we walked the show drinking beer, and not once did we go back and wipe that car off. Because we never woke up early. We were drinking beer all day, so nobody bothered to get up early, run down there and clean the car off. So by the end of the weekend, it's got like a layer of dust on this thing. But I ain't gonna win. I don't care. It's a promotional thing. So anyhow, end of the night they go through the award ceremony, and they say, okay, we need all the contenders up here, and so we get up on stage, and by now I just have a handful of buddies with me. Everybody's split. Yeah. We know we're just going to pack up and leave. Got my contender trophy, maybe a best engine, something interior, I don't know, hopefully paint, So I'm up there, I'm holding my award, the plaque for contender, and I know how that works. If you get an award, you're out. You know what I mean? Best paint, you're out. You didn't get the big one. Well, they announced best paint. I'm like, shit, didn't get that. There's best engine. Wow. And then they kept going, and I'm like, which one of these son of bitches? I'm looking, because we're lined up, and I'm looking down. Which one of these son of bitches got this trophy? And someone bumped me. I looked over, there's a trophy girl. And I looked over, here's another trophy girl, and everything just went. And they announced it, and I couldn't even speak. John,
awesome,
he's
man.
like, hey, do you want to say something? No, I couldn't even speak. I had no clue. And of course, my little crowd over there, like, yeah. So that was like one of the most amazing moments in my life. My dad was super proud. I called the owner, which was funny. Hey, you won. I did. So I mean, it was.
I did.
We won.
So
really?
it was an awesome experience. I can't imagine ever attempting to get it again. I mean, it's the bar is so damn up there now. It's
the Doug Jerger Guide to Winning Car Shows. Number 1, bring beer.
2, relax.
Number
Don't
2,
get worked up.
sleep
Never
late.
wipe it down.
Never wipe it down. There's a whole list.
It worked.
Don't pay any attention to what other people like,
Right, that too.
including Squeeg.
Wait, though.
Including your
What
dad.
kind of beer was it? We need to know.
It was the $10 beer at the show.
So it's 10. Ooh. So I'm trying to figure out what it would take to win the Riddler. Would that be like, that's going to be a craft
That'd be
beer,
like a
right?
$20 beer,
So
yeah.
craft.
$20 craft beer.
So that's the Amber story, and that's a wonderful, wonderful experience in my life. I'd never trade that for anything. I mean, that ranks up there with my kids being born. You know, that's
awesome.
it's an incredible experience. So
Awesome.
Well, Tim, anything else to say besides jumping up and down on the car?
I don't have much to contribute there.
tell them that story about the Jim Ewing coupe.
Oh yeah, Jim Ewing, you know that little orange Jim
Yeah, the
Ewing
orange
coupe?
one with the moon discs on it. Yeah.
Well, I used to buy 960, 950/16 dirt track tires from Ewing. Lived over in Monrovia, a house behind the house, and I'd go over there once in a while. Just I have something to sell him, or he'd have something to sell me. I lived in Covina at the time, and he always had this coupe sitting out, big block coupe, got flames on it. It's partially channeled. It's just a mess, just sitting beside the garage. Been there.
Was it
Finally,
chopped at that
it
time?
was chopped. I said, I want to buy that coupe. Would you sell it? He said, yeah, but I have to have $1,500 for it. So I go home.
This is a Super Bell coupe.
I'm arguing with my wife. Not arguing, really. I said, because she loved it. Used to be a guy named Cole Cutler who used to drive
An orange one.
a little channel coupe.
Yeah, with a Boss engine in it?
Yeah, before. I mean, early. It wasn't even painted then. He
Oh.
brought it to the drags here when they had the antique kind of
Yeah.
the yesteryear drags, we called them. Anyway, she loved that car. She wanted to get one, so he'll sell for $1,500. I said, great, we'll go get it. Called him up, said, come and get it. So be there Saturday. We go over Saturday. I mean, I'm ready to pay him, pick up the truck or the car. He just signed a deal with his axles. Just got somebody to help him market the axle. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but he said, I don't have to sell it anymore. I'm going to keep it, and I think I'm going to build it. And I'm glad he did,
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
we all
right.
are.
because it's one of my favorites. 'Cause-
Would you have done a track nose with a big block?
no. You've seen my coupe.
Oh, I know.
It's nothing like that. It's
Yeah,
a little more traditional.
That's
but
one of my favorite cars.
Mine
Yeah.
too.
It was
I remember seeing that in the magazines growing up. That when they did the road trip in that car,
Have
that
you-
was the coolest car. And I never would have built a track nose for one of those. I mean,
You
it
know,
had the odd little pieces on the little pontoons,
Yeah,
little
wings
sides,
up
little
the
wings on the
front,
side. It's kind of odd looking, but I love the car.
That's so cool.
Did you ever see the hood or the emblem on the front?
It was his.
I remember the
Super
emblem.
Bell logo, wasn't it?
Oh.
It wasn't really.
It was a V, and there was a female involved.
Got it. Got
That
it.
sounds like Ewing.
Yeah. I heard he was a wild man.
Well, he was a funny guy, He had hair all the way, long ponytail down his
Yeah.
back. He loved old stuff. Loved airplanes. Died in an
Yeah.
airplane, unfortunately. But
unfortunately.
Yeah, my dad went on trips with him, and he said they like to party. That's for sure.
he was a party guy.
At the hotels they would stay at, it was a party. So
Yeah, that's my Ewing story. But
that's a cool story. That car started with a big block Chevy, and they went to a small block, and I think ended up with a V6.
had
It
a
was
Buick,
wooden
had a
cool.
Buick in it at some point, didn't it?
Yeah, it still does.
Heard about the V6.
Oh, does it?
The V6?
I had a Buick V8 in it at some
Oh,
point.
it might have been a big block to a Buick V8, and then it's a V6 now. I know because they can't keep.
I'm
it
not a
cool.
historian by
Yeah,
any
a whole lot
stretch.
of-
Said pull much air.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
still a
know
great
some-
car.
I know some guys, but I'm not a historian. But I do remember that. And I remember Shapuris one time. I mean, I wasn't a friend of his. I mean, he doesn't know me. I don't know him.
Yeah.
But I heard him on an interview one time talking about I can't remember what they call that roadster. We call it the Neil East Roadster, the one that Bruce Myers has. You know what I'm talking about? Because Neil East had it at the time. And Shapuris said he saw that car. I don't know. I had seen the car for like around for 10 years or something, and Shapuris had said that he had never seen that car. That was kind of a surprise to me that he'd never seen that car because Neil East drove that thing. He drove it everywhere.
Yeah.
He even put fenders on it.
That's what I heard.
Just both bolt on so the cops would leave him alone.
That's cool.
They're removable. But what's the name of that? You remember it?
The Neil East roaster?
Yeah.
Was it the copper one?
No, the one with the deuce, the real famous, got the exhaust
I
coming
know
out.
the car, but I don't know. I don't know the name of it.
It's one of the most famous unfendered
What color was it?
black. Black, I think.
I'm thinking of a different car.
Like the Don't Spencer car?
There you go. Don Spencer's car.
Oh,
Okay.
Don Spencer
Yeah.
car.
Oh,
Okay.
that car. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
Neil-
yes, because it wasn't. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
because
Good.
Don would put fenders on that car?
No, Neil East. I
oh,
saw
that's right.
That's right.
Neil
He-
East
he
owned
had
it.
it at
That's
the
right.
Yes.
That's
I-
right.
Yeah,
That car is.
That's
That
an
was way
unbelievable,
ahead of its time.
unbelievable car. Yeah, just betcha.
I mean, it had
They had a Chevy in it when Neil was
bench
driving.
rails and it was bobbed. I mean, nobody did that.
Yeah.
And it had the dash, the doors all burned onto the dash. Nobody done that.
Yeah.
You know, it was way ahead of its time.
Way ahead of its time. Yes.
That's one of my all-time favorites.
Everybody's.
So what do you got going on in the shop now?
Let's see. We got a lot of late model stuff. Late model meaning muscle car stuff. You got to go with the flow. You got to build what the customer wants. It ain't always what I want to build. If I could only build everything I wanted, I'd be out of business.
Tell
You
me-
know, so
Tell him the story about the Nash Bridges car.
yeah. So one of the cars we got.
Are you guys doing a fenderless as a high boy? This is going to be awesome.
Well, we should have because they were junk.
Was it really that bad? It was.
Oh my God, that car. And,
Looked like it
and
sat in
my
the
buddy
bay.
Todd owns it, and he says, hey, and I know he wanted a
Hemi Kuda.
Kuda convertible anyway. And in fact, he was cool with the drivetrain in it. It was a wore out 440. And he says, hey, I'm going to go look at this Nash Bridges car. I said, that's an auction car. I don't know. He's like, yeah, I think I'm going to go talk to the guy. It's up in Canada. I was all right. He calls me. Hey, it's being shipped your way. He made the deal on it. Shit. I should have went with him and looked at it.
Sure.
So the car shows
See what
up.
you're getting into.
Right. And yeah, right. The car shows up. I'm like, oh, this is just awful. There's cracks, obvious big body work in it. And he comes
Panels.
by. Oh, they're bad. He says, what do you think? I said, I think we ought to try to spot repair this thing. You enjoy it for a while and then maybe auction it, sell it, get rid of it.
Adios, this thing.
Yeah, he's like, nah, I think I want to strip it. I'm like, nah, I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, I own the shop. The work, I'd hate to turn down work, but I don't know, man. It's going to be a big job. I know. Nah, strip it. Okay. Yeah, it was bad. Every panel, and my nephew did the metal work on it, and he did an outstanding job hanging all those new panels. But the only thing that was original on it was the rear taillight panel and the front panel in front of the hood. Everything else replaced. Wow. They had great big holes, like, I don't know, like die, the dimple die holes and the doors in the quarter to mount camera equipment, and they mudded right over them.
Oh, boy.
Like all the patchwork was just
Mud.
stacks of metal, tack welded and mudded. So we had to hack all that crap off. It was just, so anyhow, we're building that now.
Awesome.
And then they decided, you know what, let's make it a hot rod. Well, he's a very close friend, but he's my best customer because he lets us do what we want.
That's nice.
Hey, Todd, you know what I think? I think you need a Hemi. You think I need a Hemi? Yeah. Calls me like the next day. Got one ordered. Ray Barton, 760 horse.
nice.
I'm like, this guy's awesome.
Outstanding.
Do it right. There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
I said, well, now you got that power, we're going to have to get some meats under it. Okay. So next thing you know, we got meats under this thing. Curtis made us some wheels that it looked like the stock wheel, that rally.
Very cool.
Yeah. So we're going to kind of keep it looking like a CUDA. We're not really modifying anything. We're just making the door gaps nice, which, man, door gaps from Plymouth and Chrysler back then were just awful.
Oh yeah, nothing
You know.
lines up. Nothing
Oh, they were
lines up.
just awful. Anyhow, so we're squaring everything up, and that's going on. We have, we do have some early cars. I got a '68 Camaro we're doing. The Mustang, I don't know.
The Mustang's been there for
It has
long term, so
And I get my balls busted on that. Wow, you guys had that a while. Well, yeah, we did. When we started, it was bone stock. Jimmy helped with the design of it. He laid it out. I had ideas. We collaborated on a concept and we made it come to life. And it was coming together. And then the crash of the economy, well, everybody kind of froze. So he pulled the car, and I get it. And in fact, I had customers coming by later going, "Hey, does that guy want to sell that car?" One guy offered him $60,000 for it, and the metal work even wasn't done. And he said no. But it's a full tube chassis. The body comes off. It's got a Holman Moody, Boss 420, real NASCAR engine. It's got a Richmond 6-speed, and you've seen all the metal work, the airfoils.
Awesome. Yeah. Really cool.
So I get a call from him. "Hey, everything's good again. Bringing the car back." Cool. So we're back on it again. So that's a go again. And then we're doing a 54 pickup. That guy's really cool because originally he's like, "Well, I want it silver." I'm like, "Okay, if that's what you want." He's like, "What do you mean if that's what I want?" I'm like, "Well,
that's a great subtle way to do it too, if that's what you want.
Let's put some color on it." No offense. I know you're bagging on silver, and his 40 drove over his silver. Sorry. Yeah. So
that's awesome.
And I talked him into candy apple red and Krager's.
Okay.
So this is actually going to be a fun build. It kind of has a 70s vibe to it. And then what else? Ron Brown, we're doing some work. Ron Brown's coup's just down there in Chip's booth, the blue and silver one.
Okay.
Yeah, we did a 63 Corvette recently for him. And now we got
That's a silver one?
Yes.
Nice car.
Yes, it's a fun driving car. Our cars now are starting to lean towards the bedliner undercarriage with powder coated frame and
Just a nice
Something you can drive. You can drive
right,
it.
and I like that. You know, I mean, don't get me wrong. I dig like an early pre-37 with a detailed chassis and all, but the late model shit, you know, you just kind of make it strong and dependable, and that's what we're doing.
So you can drive it to.
And so we can drive it. Yeah, I like that. We just recently did a Nova, a 66. Last time it was painted was like 1990, so it was all faded, paint clear peeling, and you know, it was pretty ragged out. The customer owns the 40 sedan delivery we have in the show.
Oh, really?
He says, "What can we do with this?" I say, "You know what I would do?" And I love customers that go along with your ideas. I mean, I've done jobs where they don't go along with your idea, and then it's like, well, yeah, we're responsible for it, but you can't tell everybody it was the customer's idea. So anyhow, I'm like, you know what I do is I make this car a sleeper. So we ordered a 5 1/4 horse LS, Tremec 5-speed, did the Detroit Speed front and rear end.
Nice.
We got 17-inch steel wheels, painted them flat black. So and we just left all the shitty paint on it. Put a roll bar in it, you know, some harnesses, and that 3-inch exhaust, and that thing sounds like a drag car.
Probably a fun car to drive.
Oh, I had more fun test driving that car than any car I got to test drive.
Right
But,
on.
it'll eat a new Corvette. It's awesome. I mean, can you imagine being passed in that? I just bought this brand new Corvette, and this rag goes by. So
Now I remember it.
yeah, you aligned it. I was just talking to you about that. You aligned it. I did. He does wheel alignments for us everywhere in the valley. If you got a car and needs aligned, you call Tim. He comes out, brings us equipment, and lines it up.
He's that guy. He's that guy.
Exactly. How many did you do last year?
This is on record here.
Oh,
Yeah.
what, 2, I think.
How many did I?
I remember one.
Say I did.
It was about 265 last year.
Yeah, wow. So it'd be 10 to forget.
You wouldn't think so, would you?
Yeah. And he does them all for nothing. So
Yeah.
this
Oh,
is on
even
record.
better.
Yeah, he just
Nice
does it.
charity.
Goodness
Isn't
of your
that
heart.
nice? Yeah,
That's what the hot rodding community is all about. See?
I do about 50% shops and 50% individuals.
Yeah.
And right now, about 30% square body trucks.
Oh, yeah. I wonder why.
A lot of trucks right now.
Yeah.
But that's good. I like them.
Yeah, so we got a house full of work. We got a Deuce 4-door with a early Chrysler in it.
It's Charlie's too.
Yeah, that's Charlie's also a good customer, good friend. Ron Brown's 41 Chevy sedan. That's kind of a neat car. Ron had started it back in the 90s. His good friend, a friend of mine, Denny Heapy, used to work for the A Brothers. Did all the modifications on it, chopped it, shortened the I mean, it's really cool shit.
All C4 underneath.
Yeah, all C4, new LT1 engine. He bought it back. He had sold it back in the 90s, bought it back. Now he wants us to build it. And Ron is the sweetest guy you could ever meet. He's just super, super nice, down to earth, genuine guy. And 81 years old, still at it. He's 81, right?
It's not that old.
I think, or is
No,
he 80?
He is. I'm just saying that's not that
Oh,
old.
I'm sorry. No, I'm just saying he's still hardcore. I mean, he's still going at it, but he's given us the opportunity to build it. So that's
Yeah, he's a
You
He's a
still
good
got that
guy.
Roadster, the red one? I don't even know what that thing was. You guys were like changing the windshield post on it and bringing them back up or whatever you were doing.
Oh, yeah, the Murat car.
Yes.
Yeah, that's one of those ones I was just discussing where
Okay.
I don't
that's one of the
necessarily
cars.
agree,
Okay.
but we have to do what we do. But
Right.
yeah, we unchopped it.
Right. You unchopped
So,
it.
but I do what the customer wants to a point. I mean, if it gets out of hand, you got a reputation. That
No drawer pulls in the 34 grill or
Yeah, nothing like that. No diamond cut teeth on the grill or no chrome plated rotors.
I tell you, the Roadster Show winners back in that era look really feminine.
I agree
I
with
mean,
that. Yeah, they were certainly funny looking.
there's nothing hot rod about them. I didn't.
No.
think, Couldn't
I
believe
don't
they were
even
giving
think it was
Roadster
really-
Show
yeah,
trophies to them.
So yeah, luckily we're busy.
That was a breath of fresh air when they won that.
Yeah, when
award.
they changed the rules, it was
Unbelievable.
But yeah, I got a full crew. A lot of my guys been with me 10 years plus. So I take care of the guys and they take care of me, and
Makes it easier when you leave like this. You don't have to worry about anything.
Yeah,
You
right,
Just go and,
right.
Front end guy's been doing his car since he was in grammar school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, but yeah, I figured out these guys can run that place. I never took vacations. I never took time off. I had health problems here back in 2016,
Drastic health problem.
and I was out for 3 or 4 months, and that's funny. Everything ran just great. So that made me realize that this is the best team a guy could have, and
right.
so I got to take care of them. I do. They love coming to work. I love coming to work.
How could you not? You got a beautiful shop.
Oh, thank you.
And a
I love your
4-day
shop.
work week.
It's in
Oh, it's so cool. Just the way it's laid
cool
out.
location.
Yeah, it's a 4-day work week. We work 4/10s.
Outstanding, man.
Yeah, so it's a dream to be able to do this, and I appreciate it. It isn't like I take this for granted. I know what I'm going to do to make a living. Well, by the way, you make a living, not a killing. At this. And you're lucky to make a living. So, like I've always said, if it can support my hot rod habit, and I got my bills paid,
Fair enough.
One of the biggest things I can remember from being in the 70s, I don't know if you guys can remember this or heard about it, but the chrome shop guy, he didn't have a hot rod. The upholstery guy, he didn't have a hot rod. The painter, he didn't have a hot rod.
Yep.
But you get your car painted for $600 too, and you could. I mean, they just weren't. They were craftsmen, but they weren't
making any money.
organized. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard it from my dad all the time. We used to lacquer a car, color sand, and hand buff it for $600.
Yeah, I had a guy offer to paint my Roadster back in probably '74. He wanted $800, and I'm
With materials.
everything. Yeah, out the door. I can't do that, man.
We should work out a show special then. How about a round 6 podcast member special
Show
where
special.
$600
Yeah, hand rub lacquer.
Can you find lacquer?
Call Doug Jerger. Here's his cell number.
This goes back to our earlier talk. All we have to do is mule that stuff back in from Mexico. They'll have all the lacquer we need.
Yeah.
You'll walk funny for about 3 months, but it'll be great.
That's right.
Yeah, I grew up painting lacquer. I used to love painting lacquer. That's funny because sometimes I'll get a job in, and you can get some lacquer like clear and black, white, but no mixes. And I remember it was funny because a lot of my guys are young, and I had a car come in that I had to do a spot repair lacquer, and I put a piece of paper here and one here, prepping it, and I go to shoot it. One of my guys like, oh, and he's like trying to cover up another car next to it. And I'm like, what are you doing?
We
Why don't
try
we get
before it gets
overspray?
to it.
There's no overspray. Don't worry.
Walk by with your hand later on, wipe it off.
Yeah, here, take that tag rag. Oh, it's clean.
Wipe and blow it off with an air hose.
No, it was some other oddball car. That was years ago.
Oh,
So, but yeah, we're very fortunate. We're very busy. I I think I got a decent shop rate, and a lot of people tell me that. But I got a full shop. So, and I want to make sure my guys, I mean, I'm responsible for all their livelihood. So I want to make sure the shop's way too busy. And we always have something to do. So it's been working out great.
good.
I went to work for my dad in 86. This year will be, is that 32 or 33 years?
3 years.
I can't do
33 years.
33
Holy
years working at Squeeg's.
Yeah.
And then I took it over in 04.
I look like a deer in the headlights when they ask me. Huh?
So in 04, I took it over. I've been running it ever since. So.
Wow.
Congratulations on that,
thanks.
too. That's huge.
Well, thank you.
That's
I
really
appreciate
huge.
Well, you just gotta, again, you gotta know what you're doing, and don't ever take it for granted. You get to work on beautiful hot rods,
Yeah.
and a lot of your customers let you do what you want. So essentially, you're building your own damn cars
That's
with their money,
It's
and
really
that's
cool if you could do it that
Yeah.
way.
Oh yeah,
That's
How would you do it? Really? I could do what I want to do?
yeah, that's a good guy
Okay.
right there.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Done.
well, the quality you guys do. I would just say I want this car built and call me when it's done. I wouldn't.
You know,
question
we do our
paint,
best work.
Wheel cover, wheels, nothing. I wouldn't question anything. Just go ahead and build it.
Well,
I know I'll like it.
You play the lottery, right?
Yeah, you should just yeah. You play the lottery. Please play the lottery.
How awesome would this be? You know what tail panel it's going to have in it, right?
I'll have louvers.
Credit card ignition. It's going to
Yeah,
have
it's
white
gonna have
lacquer.
video
Sure.
gauges. You just
Some
synced all that, right?
Testarossa blades in there somewhere. Yeah,
Tri-fan wheels.
that's how you want it.
Now, see, if you're really cool, you would mold the credit card into the dash, see, so it'd be a tribute to the old
Oh, so
days.
it's always there?
It's just flush. You got to just
Oh.
flush, right? It's just right there.
I would, but that, you know what a big a pain in the ass that thing
Oh, it'd
really
be a
was.
complete pain in the ass.
No, I mean
but
the
it would-
actual when we went to get it to work, most of the time it wouldn't work.
Oh, really?
Oh, they're just awful.
It was
I mean, it was
awful.
kind of a neat idea, but
Yeah, it's clever.
just pain in the butt.
Can you still find tweed?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Somebody out there's hoarding that. They're
Yeah,
waiting
there's
on
like
it.
a tweed
It's
warehouse.
just a warehouse. The front part, the
it's-
front half of the warehouse is members only jackets.
Well,
Yeah.
wait a minute, I got a question. So
it'll be
things
back.
are usually full circle. Do you
Yeah.
think that'll ever come back? Tweed and pastels?
It'll be back. Those kids in their mother's basement and attic. They think they know how we built them in the 50s. So
Yeah.
See, I'm hoping for the buggy over here.
Yeah.
That's the stuff I want to see come back
Color.
around again.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Colors,
do. I
yeah.
want to see color.
Colors.
love the
so before the
color on that
pastel, I
car.
want to see that stuff. You know, when,
Right.
when the days of the funny cars and stuff that just glowed. You know, that
Funny
was,
cars. I mean, that brings up a good point.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse right now than stickers on funny cars.
Oh yeah.
It's just awful. You know, it's
Yeah.
we used to go to the drags to see
Yeah.
the quality of the chassis, the paint, the
Yeah.
whole. I mean, you used to chrome plate shit on these cars. Now
Yes.
they don't.
Yeah.
So I've talked to other guys that paint funny cars and do race car. You know, it's like what happened to the bright colors? You know, magenta and yellow fading and orange, and you got
See 'em
purple
clearly
and,
from the
oh,
stands.
man, that's what I want to see again.
Yeah, I agree.
I
can't
definitely
agree
wanna see
more.
that
And I
stuff.
hope
So
Everything's
when I
too
walk in and
corporate.
see that, it's like, yes, I want to see
in your
that.
face.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's in your
I love that
face.
color.
That was a fun job to do. I did that for a favor for him, and that was when my health problems I was healing, and I had to sit home, and I'd get so damn bored sitting on the couch because I don't like sitting on the couch. And I had my colostomy bag on, and I would come down and work about 3 hours, 4 hours on it. July, hotter than hell,
Oh.
and I'd go home. And I'd have to nap. Felt like I was worthless, but I got it done, and
Right.
right
so,
on.
yeah, I mean, you can't. If you stop, you're done.
Yep.
On 10.
Wait a minute. You know, there's a John Fogerty song. you ever, life is like a rodeo. You know, you try to, how's that go? The trick is to ride and make it to the bell.
Yep.
You know, if you quit before you get to the bell, why bother?
Yeah.
You know, that's why I'm working at my age.
I know. I'll be the same way. I think we all will.
Ding, ding.
There you go. Thank you guys.
Oh man, this has
Thank
been
you guys
great.
very
Taking
much.
time.
Appreciate it. No problem.
Yeah, definitely.
See, now you know we've done this twice, and you're like, what is it? Like, you'll have fun.
Well,
Trust me.
I'm a little
But you
nervous
guys
about
hanging
because I'm
around.
not used to going behind cameras, and
Right.
I'm a huge self promoter.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
So,
you-
yeah.
So to do this, it's like it's a
Sorry,
little
your
weird.
TV show, yeah.
Yeah. So it's a little weird, but once you start talking, it's just you're talking high rod stuff, you're bench racing.
Well, the other project we had done, and I told him, I said,
Yeah,
this is what it's
right.
going to be. You just trust me, it'll be fun. It's
Yeah.
like, okay, and you had fun. Like,
Yeah,
oh,
it
this
was.
is fun.
No, and this was a lot of fun, and it gives you the opportunity to talk and tell your story. And
Yeah.
but again, I think if you just do what you love, and I know this has been said, if you just do what you love for a living, you never have to work a day in your life, and there's a lot of truth behind that.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate to be able to do this and make a living off it. So,
Right on.
and never take it for granted. So no, this has been great.
Well, thank you. We're looking forward to having you back.